Hello and welcome to Secure Insecure, hosted by Johnny Seifert. This is a celebrity mental health podcast where I say it's okay to not be okay. And if you have the same mantra as me, then before we get to today's guest, please subscribe to Secure Insecure whilst you're listening or watching. At the end of the episode, leave a 5-star rating and a review. Now, let me tell you about my guest today. Today is a very special episode of Secure Insecure. I started it in March 2019, and today marks 250 episodes of Secure Insecure, where we say it's okay not to be okay and open up those conversations of mental health. And there was one person I want to talk to today to mark that episode, and it's with thanks to Colt for setting it up, because she is the voice on mental health. For the past 30 years, she's been advocating for it. Her Unwelcome Visitor book is the Bible you need by your bedside. And she's one of those people that is your favorite actress, your favorite singer, your favorite presenter. To me personally, she's my second mum and someone I have unconditional love for. It's my dear friend and my French teacher. It's Denise Welch. Hello, Dens.
Bonjour, Johnny. Comment ça va?
Can you come back to Waterloo Road now?
Oh, bless you. It's too much like hard work, Johnny.
I don't care. This show misses you. I miss you on it.
You've got Angela, haven't you? You've got Adam.
Well, exactly. That's the problem. You've got Angela, you've got Adam. Therefore, we need you and Philip to come back, who played Bob.
No, because Philip died in it.
It doesn't matter. Bill came back from the dead in EastEnders recently. We know it doesn't matter now.
Maybe I'll do a couple of guest episodes, especially for you. How does that sound?
Can you imagine? I'm back just for Johnny. Hi.
Yeah.
I'd love that. I'd love that. Right, look, let's talk. We're going to talk about Cobb in a little bit, but the first question, obviously, as we're coming to the end of the year, was just how has 2023 been for you? Mentally, physically, financially, professionally, romantically, anything. How has the year been?
Very quick, I'll say that. I've never known a year go so quickly. I can't actually believe that Christmas adverts are on the telly. I mean, you know me with my bar humbugness, but I cannot believe that we're nearly there. So it's gone very, very quick. There's been ups and downs like there is in everybody's year. Mental health-wise, let's get that sorted. 2019, when I had my last episode, breakdown, whatever we now call it, it was the episode that launched my book that you very kindly credited there, The Unwelcome Visitor. Johnny, if I could bottle what has happened to me, I would be a trillionaire. I always knew that the onset of my depression was postnatal. And for 20 years, I strived when I was well enough to have someone accept that the hormonal chaos that is caused in many women is responsible for the depression that subsequently ensues. For some women, and for many women, because I never want to frighten people who are thinking of having a family or who are currently pregnant or have just given birth. Most women will, if they do have postnatal depression, will make a complete recovery. Sadly for me, it opened up a tendency to major depressive order. And that has happened with some people. And when you think of the chemical chaos that happens when you have a child, it was incomprehensible to me that many doctors would not take the hormone aspect seriously. Eventually, after 20 years, I found someone who did. He found me to be completely lacking in estrogen. He didn't know how I'd survive. Now, bearing in mind, I'd been to regular doctors, had regular blood tests, liver fine, kidney fine, this fine, estrogen fine. If you're worried about something, try and get an extra set of blood tests done. I know it costs money, so I utterly, and true, but at least ask for a second opinion, because I was so deficient in estrogen, they didn't know how I'd survived. Once I began to have hormone treatment for that, I saw massive improvements. Didn't cure me, but I saw improvement. Post 2019, I have never had one episode. I changed nothing. My antidepressants remained the same. My HRT remained the same. My marital status remained the same. No big changes, but I haven't had another episode. So when you say to me, how was 2023? From that respect, it was marvelous, because every year I don't have clinical major depressive disorder is a win for me, because I can deal with other stuff without my depression. And what I've realized is that for 34 years, because Matty's 34 now, for 34 years, I've woken up in fear of my illness. It became so much part of my life, I wasn't even aware of it, of what am I doing today? What if I get my thing? What is Lincoln doing today? What are the kids doing today? What if I get my thing? What if it ruins it for them? It's almost like an internal dialogue that has taken place in my life for 34 years. And for the last, I would say 2 years, I've been free of that. I'm not saying I will never get depression again, because I don't know. I'm saying I've had 4 years free of it, and we've been through the nightmare of COVID. I've been through the loss of my dad, and you know how hard that was for me. My depression was not always reactive. It was very often endogenous, so it would come without any reasons whatsoever. It was in my system. But every year, every month, every day, I don't have depression. I am a much happier person because I can deal with the other stuff. And if I don't have depression, the ripple effect is great on my family as well. This year, we had my stepson, Lewis, who has given us, with his wife, Lizzie, a beautiful grandson, Theo, who we are absolutely and utterly obsessed with. I didn't think I'd be that way, but I am totally obsessed. But Lewis had a major operation for Crohn's disease, which was a very, very difficult time for us. It was a major operation, which obviously was very worrying for us. So that was one of the big downs of the year, but he's doing absolutely fantastically well. So the doctors there were very, very grateful. I've spent time with both my kids in America. Matty's been on tour, and I miss him very, very much. You know, I'm looking forward to the tour ending so he can just live a bit of a normal life for a while, because I don't think people realize the pressure on, you know, they see everything is amazing, don't they, when you've got this, you know, big rock star touring the world and everything. But it's exhausting physically and mentally. And I'm looking forward to, as a mum, people say, are you proud? Are you proud? Of course I am. But the first thing I'm looking for in both my kids is, are they okay? You know, despite everything.
How do you manage to do that, though, when you bring Matty back here? And, you know, I know you don't like talking about his work career, so I'm not talking about that. But the fact of, obviously, if we look at social media and everything, obviously back and forth with Taylor Swift, etc. But for him to come back to Cheshire and just be Matthew again and just be your child and not have that fame, how do you keep him grounded so that fame, social media is all away and this is just Denise?
It's incredible to watch Matty on stage being adored by millions of people and obviously thousands in the arena, and then to get back to the hotel or to get back to the house and just have my son back. I cherish the times that he's just here. And, you know, he came back a few months ago and I was going to pick him up off the train station, but he'd walked to they have this favourite sandwich shop called Petit Delice in Wilmslow. The minute any of them get back to Wilmslow, they go to Petit Delice. Louis will walk in here every day with a Petit Delice. So Matty hadn't waited for me at the train. He'd walked through to Petit Delice and I could see people coming out the shops and staring at him. And he looked up and he saw that the Flame and Wok Chinese restaurant where him and George used to do meal deliveries had been taken over by another restaurant, and he filled up. He got really emotional. You know, it still means a lot to him, and reminiscing about childhood, etc. But Matthew is a very grounded person. I don't worry about that too much. I'm looking forward to just being able to spend time with him when he's not touring. But I got to do that a little bit in America, and I went off to New Orleans as mum on tour. And that was a real highlight of the year. Lincoln continues to go from strength to strength with his art. I've never known anybody work so hard. It's just been confirmed that he's doing Venice Biennale next year for what will be the 3rd time, or is it the 4th time? So I'm incredibly proud of him. I continue to mourn my dad, who I still can't quite accept that he's gone, but not a day goes by that we don't laugh about something he said or something he would have said or somebody he would have fancied. So generally, the thing about the world at the moment, Johnny, is, and you more than anyone as a Jewish man will be feeling it, what we're going through globally is incomprehensible. And I think that because I can't change that situation, what I can do is try to look after my own corner of the world. So I am very aware that whatever's going on, there are still children who are in this country in 2023 who don't have shoes for school, who don't have a bed to sleep in, and who don't have food in their tummy at night and in the morning. So with the Mirror, I've got a campaign called Hope Not Hunger. So I'm just trying to remind the governments that whatever is going on, we also have to look out for our own corner of the world, and that's our children here. So I feel that I can do something about that in a small way by using my profile. So I'm trying to do that because I think we all wake up in the morning just not knowing what to think. It's a very, very difficult time. And as I say, I'm sure that it's very hard for you, and I feel for you and your community.
Well, that's very kind of you. Hope Not Hunger, where can people get more information on what do you want people to be doing?
They can go onto my Instagram page. I think what we're trying to do at the moment, Johnny, is there will be fundraising activities. Of course there will. I'm running one with Children Northeast at the moment. This is not just about the Northeast. I started it there because that's where I'm from. And when I read the statistics of what was going on in the Northeast, and that 72% of people living in poverty are in working families, that there are more food banks than McDonald's in this country. Food banks are essential, but they shouldn't be. They're doing the work of the government. And this government absolutely does not take child poverty as seriously as it should be. There needs to be a national child poverty strategy reinstated. And I am hoping that when the next government get in, which hopefully won't be this lot, that I will work towards that. So what we're trying to do at the moment is break down the stigma of child poverty. Shows like Benefit Street, those type of shows, they've created a massive stigma around people who are struggling. We're using the word destitution again, Johnny. That's like a Victorian word, but children are destitute. And so it's really a case of informing yourself a little bit more on a practical level. Find out if your area has a food bank or a baby bank. See what you can do. Sometimes it's not about delivering things. It's about maybe doing a little fundraiser. Manchester United had a great idea, and this is for more poverty generally, not necessarily child poverty, whereby everybody who went to the match was asked to bring along a spare coat if you had one, and they all left a coat on the seats. Anything like this that you can do within your community is of massive help, because there's more people going to be on the streets this year than ever.
Check out Den's Instagram page for more information. Obviously, you mentioned the government. We obviously know where you stood on COVID and everything like that. How has it been for you in recent times, now that's all kind of gone away with your social media? Because at times your social media accounts got very raucous and there's a lot of back and forth. And just thinking of you from a mental health perspective, obviously you've said, you know, the diagnosis side and the depression side, but what's your relationship with social media like at the moment?
I have a very good relationship with Instagram. I think there is an absolute massive difference between Instagram and X. I have a lot of followers on X/Twitter, so it's not something that I want to come off, but I absolutely limit my time on there. I don't get into those fear scrolls that I used to. I take what information I need and I try and leave it alone. I feel a bit, I told you so, about many of the things that I talked about in COVID, because it wasn't about denying COVID, far from it. As again, you well knew, it was about the BS that was going around, which has been proved. I knew that nobody in Downing Street was wearing masks. I knew they weren't socially distancing. And I thought, well, don't you have sick relatives to go and visit them? Because I'm not allowed in the ambulance with my father. The whole Matt Hancock thing, I'm still very triggered by it all. A lot of people say it's gone away. It hasn't gone away. COVID itself hasn't gone away. But certainly I'm following this COVID inquiry with intense scrutiny, but I'll be, you know, and I honestly feel that none of them will be probably held to account, because it's just, they've all got each other's backs and the corruption is absolutely intense.
And then they just go on GB News afterwards, or Celebrity SAS, and just
they just go on to make a bloody fortune.
Okay.
And you know, I'm absolutely furious with the fact that Matt Hancock has been given these positions. Luckily, it's completely backfiring. You know, the guy is a criminal as far as I'm concerned, and he's a complete and utter idiot. And luckily this is coming out. I had to fight my corner when he was in the jungle, because a lot of people started to say, but he's marvelous, everybody deserves a second chance, he got 11 stars. Absolute BS. Anyway, I think a lot of people are seeing things through my eyes now, not necessarily through mine, through many people's eyes.
Obviously, you said that you hope there's another government coming in next year. What do you want them to do for mental health? What's the next stage? We've got a lot of celebrities having documentaries at the moment. Roman Kemp just brought out another one. We're having more and more classes in schools and more counsellors in schools. But what else needs to be done for mental health?
Well, it's about funding. Unfortunately, well, it's not just about funding. Unfortunately, the NHS is a broken system. And, you know, I would love to sit on here and tell you what I think should be done with the NHS. I don't know, Johnny. I just know it's broken. And I just know there has to be changes, because the mental health waiting list is bigger than ever. You know, it's even going back to the poverty situation. I sort of re-entered that arena because of mental health, because you imagine the mental health of the people. I think it's also important as well that we differentiate between mental health issues and mental illness. And they're not necessarily the same things, and I think they often get grouped together. But as usual, it's money and it's conversation and it's transparency, because I honestly feel sometimes that, you know, it would be absolutely wonderful to have a minister in charge of mental health who is actually who would come out and say that they are a survivor of mental health issues or of mental illness. I just feel in the government, you have one day you're and I don't understand it. One day you're the health secretary, the next day you're the transport secretary, the next day you're the Minister of Culture, Nadine Dorries. It's like, what is going on? How do you know all these things? Get somebody applicable to what role that is. Have somebody who's either worked in the mental health community before or has suffered a mental illness. Because I'm proof in the pudding. It doesn't mean that because you've got a mental illness that you can't make a huge contribution to society. And I just hope if Labour do get in, that Keir Starmer said, he's flip-flopping already, and I do worry about that. I just want people to have the courage of their convictions and not say that they're going to do one thing and then flip-flop as soon as they get in. So I'm no politician. It's not an arena that I enter in the traditional way, but I will just use my small platform to try to keep mental health and child poverty up there and talked about as much as possible. I'm hoping to get an interview with Keir Starmer, which he promised me at the Who Dares Wins Awards. So the Mirror are going to hold his feet to the fire about that one, just because I will ask questions that a politician or a journalist wouldn't answer, because I'm neither of those. So I would just like to ask what he's going to do about these things from my perspective.
I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you with everything you've said, actually. And you're right. We look at the way they all change their roles, and it's, well, why do I identify with you now? What have you done for me? Why am I looking at you as a role model? Let's look at your campaign with Co-op. You're working with them about prenups. Why did you want to get involved in this campaign?
The prenup thing is quite interesting. There has been a 70% increase in requests for information in this last year. 70%, that's quite a lot. I think the prenups were, to most people, including me, something happened to big rich stars in America. One of them had pots and pots of money. The other didn't have as much, and the very, very rich one wanted the not so rich one to not get that money should they divorce. That's how we saw it. We didn't see prenups as something that we could use. And actually, I think that we're just becoming a little bit more savvy. We're also wanting to retain some form of independence. There's a lot of my friends, well, probably most of them, who no longer don't have a shared bank account with their partner. They like to share lots of things with their partner, but they prefer to keep a little bit of financial independence and have their own bank account. Whereas years ago, our mums and Auntie Doris, they would have always just had a shared bank account, or traditionally the man would have looked after the money and given housekeeping money. So things have changed hugely. Also, when the prenup thing was explained to me by Co-op Legal Services as a insurance policy, it made so much sense. So when you go into a marriage, you will be encouraged to get insurance for either life insurance or house insurance. You don't think you're going to die, you don't think your house is going to burn down, and you don't think you're going to have a flood, but you are sensible enough to take out a moderate policy just in case that happens. And this is the same thing. One of the things in a divorce, and I've had two, for me this didn't apply, but for many friends it did, is the division of assets. And if you sign a prenup and you decide about your division of assets before and that doesn't mean I'll have the most or I'll have this, it's just you both decide what will happen in the event of the marriage not working. If you don't do that, the courts can decide for you. We've all heard about the amicable divorce. Oh, we don't need lawyers. I'm going to have this and he's going to have that. And it just doesn't work that way. The lawyers come in and then the courts decide what you can both have. I know that moving forward now, and I'm going to say to my kids, don't let the courts decide. You decide what you're going to do about it, and just think of it as an insurance policy. I think my own theory, and it is absolutely not given to me by Co-op Legal Services, this is just my theory. We watch a lot of reality television, and I don't just mean you and me, Johnny, because we watch more than anybody in the entire universe. So when I see we, it's a more general we. We all watch a lot of reality television, and we all invest in these different love affairs and these different relationships. Sadly, for some, they don't last. And I think that thankfully some do, but I think that people are it's not about becoming more cynical. It's just about becoming aware that it shouldn't be something that you're embarrassed about talking about. Obviously, you're getting married because you love each other and you hope that you're going to stay together forever. But realistically, you might not. And we live in a world where the nuclear family isn't the same anymore. Kids aren't going to school with a mum and dad who are together, who have 2.4 children. They're in a classroom full of single parents. They may have non-binary parents. They may have gay dads, gay mums. The nuclear family isn't the same anymore. Everything's changing. So I think that this is maybe why people have thought, well, hang on a minute, let me just look after myself and, you know, and make sure that if it happens, we know what's going to happen with the assets. So it just kind of makes sense to me.
I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. And watching certain people that I know going through that and not having a prenup, it even strengthens it even more for me now that when I do finally find my nice little Jewish girl in North West London, it will happen because it's so important. And also, it saves you on a lot of drama. You don't need that upset with everything else that's going on. And when money's involved, everything always goes worse.
That's all as well. And I was talking to Ben Evans, who is the lawyer that works for Co-op. He was explaining to me more about the postnup, which I didn't know. Some people are so busy and so wrapped up in getting their marriage organised, because we all know what a headache that can be, that they want to address these things afterwards. Or they come to a lawyer just before, and the lawyer says, what I do is I'd come to me afterwards. And a postnuptial agreement just can be a reflection. Or, for example, a good example is that there is going to be an inheritance. And this inheritance may be coming to one or other of the partners that doesn't really impact on what they have built together as a marriage. And it's a discussion to be had, and this could happen on either side, that you can then sign a postnuptial agreement so that there's no stress later on down the line. You both know what's going to happen with that money. Job done, in the drawer, signed. Don't have to think about it anymore.
Signed, sealed, and delivered. Let's do a bit of showbiz quickly. Diana the Musical, I had Jay from S Cup Juniors on a couple of weeks ago on the podcast, and he was talking about how excited he is to be with you and Alice Fern and Kerry Ellis. I mean, that lineup, that's 4 powerhouses. Eventum Apollo on the 4th of December. I'm coming to it, obviously, because...
Oh, yeah.
Well, obviously I'm going to be supporting you. I came to see you in Wind in the Willows. I'll come
I know you did. I know this is slightly different to Mrs. Otto, with me giving the Queen. Yes, we're very excited about it. Maya Kassar-Breed is also in that lineup. She's playing young Diana. You get the chance to go and see, well, I might take you, Johnny, chance to go and see her in Lizzie at Southwark Playhouse. Absolutely incredible new musical based on Lizzie Borden. Anyway, little old me with these absolute powerhouse musical theatre geniuses and me. It's quite interesting casting, I would say, but the musical is incredibly reverential to Diana. I was a huge Diana fan. I'm a huge Meghan and Harry fan. I would never want to, you know, if it's even on their radar, I would never want to be involved in anything that would upset them. This is Diana's story from Diana's perspective. The writers of the musical love Diana. We just want to do it justice. Is it camp a little bit? But it reveres her and honors her. And I'm just very proud to be part of it. As I say, it's a one-night only concert. We're not sure what will happen after, but it's a one-night only concert at the Apollo, Hammersmith Apollo on the 4th of December.
Are you wanting it to be a full-on one? Would you go on tour next year? And
oh God, I can't even think what I'm doing. I'm doing a play with Matthew Kelly next year.
Are you?
I'm doing a two-hander called The Gap. It's a new Jim Cartwright play. I am the biggest Jim Cartwright fan. I did Little Voice in 2004, and then I did another play of his, Ancient Secret of Youth, a few years ago. And he asked me a while back, would I be interested in this new play? And I mean, God, he's my favourite playwright. So yes, I am. And I love Matthew Kelly. And we're doing it at Hope Mill in Manchester, directed by Anthony Banks. So that's the trip up north for you, Johnny.
And I love Matthew Kelly. He gives the best cuddles, and I once got him to make pretend that I was on Stars in Their Eyes. One of my favourite moments. I've got a little video of that, which is just brilliant. I always play it. And then finally, obviously, Loose Women. I just want to put it out there because I'm a massive Loose Women fan. I think it's on its best it's been in a really long time at the moment.
Oh, so that's great to hear.
Loose Men doing really well, the all-black female lineup, and then having Olivia Attwood and Joanna Page come on the lineup as well. I just think it's had that new blood that we've not had since the golden era of obviously you and Jane and Bellas and Carol and Kate and whatnot. How are you finding the panel at the moment and just Loose Women as a whole, as a program?
Well, I mean, it's given, we've had an injection of life anyway since doing the tour last year. And I think for me, it's more from an audience point of view. I think doing the tour, the live tour, just reminded us who we do this show for. And I was in tears every single night I did the show, when we would come to the stage door, it was like we were the 1975 Nanas. You know, it was like being a middle-aged rock band. And we would come out to the stage door and it was teeming with people. Honestly, it was like we were rock stars. And you realize that this show, Johnny, means so much to people. We are their friends. We are their comfort. There are a lot of people who, either because of mental or physical disability, can't leave the house. There are many people who are lonely, and us coming on television to them, whatever the lineup, they all have their favorite lineups, of course. They're very keen to tell us who they love and don't like, which is hilarious. But at 12:30 every day, we come into their homes, and despite whatever's going on in the world, we try to bring a little bit of love and laughter to them. It's all those words that I cringe at normally, but it was very humbling, because we all know, if you look at Twitter straight after our show, any show, you'll have Doris 1234, who's got no followers. And no matter how much you try not to engage in that, it does kind of play into your psyche. Well, these amazing people who came to the tour wouldn't even know that Twitter exists, a lot of them. They don't live their life on social media. And this show means a lot to them. It was lovely to be a little bit more irreverent. It was lovely to be able to swear a bit. I could turn into Dirty Den and do all my dirty jokes that I can't do on the television. It was fascinating because each different lineup brought a different value to the audience. And of course, you've just mentioned Olivia and Joanna, and we've had Sally Dinover and Sue Cleaver, you know, who've come on as panelists as opposed to guests. And it's fantastic to give these people an opportunity. And like you say, people need changes sometimes. As long as I'm still there, then they're good to go.
Denise, I can't thank you enough for being on episode 250. I can't thank you enough for being my friend.
I'm very honoured.
You should be. I love to obviously you and Lincoln and Tim and the kids and everything like that. My thanks to Co-op, to Josh Wheeler and his team at B Broadcasters at the interview. If you love Lee something like I do, there's loads of episodes in the library. People like Syra Khan, Angela McLean, Sherry Houston, Kate Thornton, Shereen Murphy, Suzanne Shaw, Lisa Maxwell, and many, many more. If you enjoyed today's episode of Security is Good, please do give it a 5-star rating. Click that subscribe button and let's keep spreading the word for the next 250 episodes. It's okay to not be okay. I'm Johnny Seifert. Until next time, thank you and goodbye.